Edmonton marks a return to racing for Olympic champion Hamish Carter, who hasn't raced since the Commonwealth Games but is on target to perform well here. Standing in front of him, though, is a strong field of just under 60 men from around the world, all ready to tackle the challenging course Edmonton has become famous for. Another Kiwi keen to get back into racing mode is Carter's teammate Bevan Docherty, who hasn't raced since winning the Mooloolaba World Cup back in March. During his time off, he's been working at getting that consistency back, though, a racing strength he's been known for throughout his illustrious career.
It was a good start to the year. Obviously, with such a big championship race early on in the year, I was always going to have some good form, and to get a World Cup win as well, it was an added bonus. So this course and also the course in Lausanne is definitely a strength course. Compared to Commonwealth Games, where it was a straight-out running race, I think you need more strength on the bike, and it's certainly the hills on the bike courses are going to drain a lot of the good runners' legs. So, that's suited towards me, and I'm excited.
Hot off the heels of a victory at the European Champs, Frédéric Belob from France is also in the shape of his life, so he too could factor into today's race.
This weekend is a race for me very important. But it's the last race of this weekend is a race for me very important. But I did many races every week, and it's the last this weekend. And after I will take a few days of holiday, so I really want to do a last great race, and I think I'm in good shape, so I will give what I can.
Belob and Docherty are two obvious names to watch in today's race, and here are a few others. The Olympic champ, of course, along with former world #1 Hunter Kemper. Now, once again, here's Billy Shepley.
A very large men's group, and they're off. It's Hunter Kemper. And one of the things we talked to Kemper about coming into today's race was a couple of swims where he got just a little complacent earlier on this year. He'd been swimming fantastic in the swimming pool along with the great Andy Potts, one of his training mates. But Kemper was concerned about it not being productive in the race, and you can see now the rain starting to come down on the men. It is going to be some tough conditions out on that road here early on today. Through the early stages right now, it is the Nike man, Hunter Kemper, pushing the pace. Frédéric Belob sitting just on his feet, and we know that that man can swim very, very well. The young Canadian Colin Jenkins sitting up in about 5th spot, and Jenkins got his push through the Commonwealth Games earlier on this year, and then stood ahead of the great Simon Whitfield for most of the national championships in Brampton just a few weeks ago. So Colin Jenkins swimming very well right now for Canada. And you can see the men are very closely bunched together throughout the late stages of this first 750 meters. They'll come back up onto the shore. Belob right now, and Tanka from Japan. Those two men pushing very hard. Hunter Kemper sitting right now in 3rd spot as they're going through the last 100 meters. Martin Karnebek from the Czech Republic in a very solid position, and the man who has won at the Cornerbrook World Cup Triathlon loves a very tough course. We're on shore right now waiting for the athletes to make their way back, and it'll be Frédéric Belob who should be one of the first athletes to come out of the water. Hiroshu Toyama from Japan into there right now, and the two athletes from Japan and from France pushing each other coming around the corner, so they're very tightly bunched. Hunter Kemper, you can see the aggression in those men right now through these early stages as they go through back at the end of 750 meters. Umpenhauer in a great spot, Ospoli into that group. Karnebek, so the Czechs are very well established. Bevan Docherty has had a great open in 750 meters. Hamish Carter sitting just towards the back end of that lead group. Shane Reed into there as well. So very experienced swimmers into this lead group. But you can see a gap now to some of the athletes into that chase group, including the likes of Schumacher from the United States, Takino back into there, Shane Reed, Matt Reed back there as well. But Hunter Kemper is pushing it very hard. The 2-time Olympian, 3-time World Cup winner right now is pushing it. He's just won his record 6th national championships for the U.S. in the last few weeks. So we know he's in great form coming in. Was concerned that he too might have a little bit of a flu bug, but Hunter Kemper pushing the pace right now through the late stages of this 1,500 meter swim. They'll go around the islands one more time. You can look up into the clouds, and it is a very rainy day now in the afternoon. It's just passing 3:45 in the afternoon here in Edmonton, and the men won't have to worry with so much of the heat and humidity that the women had earlier on, expected to go down to about 26 degrees Celsius. And you can see Hunter Kemper pushing hard, very, very hard now through the last stages of this 1,500-meter swim. Over the years, the Americans have done very well here at the World Cup race. Last year, Andy Potts, Hunter Kemper was second, Matt Reed third for a 1-2-3 on the American side. Simon Whitfield, the Canadian winner here in 03 and 04. There was no men's race, in 04 because of the hailstorm. Whitfield winning here in 02 and 03. And they're coming out of the water now. It'll be Hunter Kemper first out of the water, 17:38. Belabé and Jenkins just on his feet. Tayama from Japan, Ospoli and Carnavac sitting into that group. The Americans, Umpenhauer and Fleischmann. Doherty from New Zealand will be out into that lead group of 10 as they come through. Shane Reed as well from New Zealand. But Hunter Kemper helmet on, and he is looking to make sure that he has all of his business taken care of here early on as Hunter Kemper heads out onto the start of the bike. And Bevan Doherty being held along with Hamish Carter because of a swim infraction. And we're taking a look right now on the left-hand side, and it is Hunter Kemper into his cycling shoes. The rain now starting to pour down as the men are coming out of the water in the chase group on the right side of the screen, but the lead cyclist now dealing with rain here in Edmonton.
Hunter Kemper led the field after the swim, but by a narrow 2-second margin ahead of European champ Frédéric Bellot, while both Doherty and Carter were also in touch heading onto the 40-kilometer bike.
6 laps, 40 kilometers here. And as the men now make their way through what will be a very slick course on the pavement, you can see the rain continuing to come down. A little bit of caution going to have to happen on these hills here in Edmonton, as the men have raced all around the world in these kinds of conditions, but they really do have to watch it. The oil on the pavement through the first half hour or so of a very, very tough rain makes it very slick. The city of Edmonton hosted the World Masters Triathlon Championships just a year ago. And we are looking at our lead men right now. Hunter Kemper, as the rain starting to splash in the face of the lead men right now. That's Colin Jenkins from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, one of the athletes in Canada's 23 and under development team. And you can see some of the athletes in the breakaway group trying to catch up. Small pockets of 5 and 6 out there on the course. Our lead group, however, includes Umpenhauer from the United States, Belabé from France, Jenkins from Canada, Hunter Kemper from the US, Carnavac and Ospoli as well, and Bevan Doherty with a flat tire. Looks like his day will be over for the Olympic Games silver medalist. Back onto the course right now. We are taking a look at the rain continuing to build up on the overpasses, so the athletes really will have to be overly cautious out here. The chase group of athletes down by 30 seconds. As rain now just starting to let up, we can see our chase group starting to come together, so maybe being a little bit more cautious than normal on the men's side, as a large group now of about 25 men are starting to come together, and this major hill does not look like it's going to be a major impediment to the groups all coming together. Some great runners into this chase group. The packs now having all come together here, and the great work of Frédéric Belabé along with Hunter Kemper and Colin Jenkins seeming to maybe not pay much dividends now as we're at the halfway mark, having to take a look and see if anyone's prepared to make a breakaway out of this group. There are certainly some strong cyclists in the past. We've seen the French team try to make breakaways. Colin Jenkins right now in the red outfit from Canada looking like he's trying to make a small break. It's been a day of all kinds of weather, as now the sun coming out trying to just dry up a little bit. And we are seeing a small breakaway right now on the men's side. Whether or not that is going to be able to materialize, the men certainly have the horsepower if they do want to bring anyone back here, as we're now just past the halfway mark of this 6-lap, 40-kilometer ride. The sun now out, starting to dry up the pavement. And it looks like the young Canadian trying to make a small breakaway, but as the lead group starts to come back down the hill over the overpass, the pure momentum of 35-plus men now bringing everyone back together as one. Again, the World Cup race here in Edmonton has been a successful venture for the Americans, as last year Andy Potts got his first ever World Cup victory on this Edmonton course. We have seen a couple breakaways on this course in the past, and the most predominant one was last year when Andy Potts, along with Courtney Atkinson and Craig Walton, were able to accelerate and put an almost 2-minute gap. And right now it's two Canadians, Colin Edwards in the silver, Paul Tischler in the red. Two Canadians trying to break away here in Edmonton, Alberta, and we will certainly hear the crowd roar as they come through the transition zone if they're able to stay ahead. Tischler, an engineer from the University of Alberta, lives and trains right here in Edmonton, and certainly there is a large group of men, if they are motivated over this next couple of minutes to try to bring them back, there certainly should be the horsepower, but it is two Canadians leading as they come through the transition zone. But there's some unbelievable talent in that main chase group. And if Edwards wants any chance at all, he's going to have to stay ahead on this bike. Halfway through lap 5 now, we can see two men having made a breakaway, and we think that that might be Frederick Belabé, we understand, who's joined Colin Edwards. In fact, it is Frederick Belabé, and that is an incredible talent. The European champion from 05 and 06, the World Cup winner in Salford. He's a two-time French national champion. Along with Colin Edwards, the two of them would have raced many times in the past.
For the World Championship, I will train in altitude, and I will train so hard. Like last year, the European champ, I know how I feel in this course, and I know how I was training before this event last year. So I will do exactly the same and hope to do the same result, but it will be more hard, very, very hard this year.
Well, Belabé in a fantastic position because he is an unbelievable runner. And as they come through for the start of the 6th lap, the second of the bike premium is going to be won by Colin Edwards as he goes through. Still wet on that pavement. He and Frederick Belabé will look across and see the chase group of athletes. It's lap 6. And if Edwards wants any chance of a top 10 here today, he and Frederick Belabé are going to have to make as much time as they can. Because coming up from behind in that main chase group includes Garza from Mexico, Azani from New Zealand, as well as Hamish Carter, the Olympic Games gold medalist. Into that chase group as well, the very talented Jared Schumacher, the 2005 World 23 and under champion into that group. Brent McMahon, the Olympian from Canada as well. Fleischman from the United States, and as a very talented group of 29 or 30 athletes now work their way through the final stages of this 40-kilometer ride. It is Frederick Belabé and Colin Edwards. And we understand that Frederick Belabé has a flat tire, and as Edwards looks over, he is going to lose a very talented support man. So Edwards now is going to have to ride this last 5 kilometers on his own. Frederick Belabé is going to have to worry whether or not he's even able to make it through this final lap. What an unopportune time for a flat tire. We're back in Edmonton in the final stages of the Elite Men's BG World Cup Triathlon, and it is Canada's Colin Edwards who is claiming his few minutes of fame as he bikes away from some of the best athletes in the world. Edwards will be coming off the bike with maybe somewhere close to a 1-minute lead as we look back to a huge group now of about 30-plus men in that main chase group. We're not quite sure if Frederick Belabé has been able to get in here. Belabé, who had the flat tire, and into the final stages. Belabé now just on the bottom coming through, so he is going to stay ahead of the main chase group coming in. At the very last stages here, you can see that large group, the pavement still damp, as Colin Edwards will be the first off the bike, the Canadian athlete who really has toiled in the shadows of the likes of Paul Tischler, Brent McMahon, and the great Olympian in Simon Whitfield. Belabé now just being passed. So you can see him there just at the top of the screen in the blue. He's being passed. So that flat tire, Frederic Belabé trying to hang on, realizing that he's less than a mile from the transition zone. If he can just get in there, that incredibly talented French athlete might be able to get himself into the top 5 or 6 here today. Colin Edwards working very hard through the last stages of this race. And as we come through the final kilometer of this 40-kilometer bike ride, it will be the likes of Colin Edwards from Canada out of his shoes, and he will have to try to have the run of his life if he wants to stay ahead of people like the great Hunter Kemper, some of the best runners in Hamish Carter and Philip Ospeley, Martin Carnovac as well. It is Edwards off the bike, 1:14.53. He will know that he's got likely close to a minute, and he'll at least need all of that if he wants to stay in the top 10. The chase group now at the bottom of the screen, they'll be coming off, but clean and out of the transition zone, Canada's Colin Edwards, and here they come. We can see them coming off the bikes right now. Frederic Belabé has been passed by that entire lead group. There he is, just towards the back end of that group. And Colin Edwards leads out onto the start of this 3-lap, 10-kilometer run, and now they're charging off the bike. Canada's Paul Tischler into that group, Hunter Kemper from the U.S., the two-time Olympian, Garza from Mexico will be coming off, Bazzani from New Zealand, and Carter as well. The two Czech athletes and the likes of Ospeley coming off in Carnovac, and there is the Olympic Games gold medalist now just 6 seconds back of the main group as they head out onto the 10-kilometer run.
It was a challenging bike as usual in Edmonton, but the fans were happy with 2 young Canadians in the lead. But many of the field's top runners and pre-race favorites were still in the chase, heading on to the 10-kilometer run.
And you can see now the fatigue starting to show already as he heads up the hill. Colin Edwards from Eastern Canada working very well right now, but Hunter Kemper, who had a brilliant swim and sat into that bike. Shane Reed now sitting back in third, the Canadian sitting into there, and Paul Tischler, Hamish Carter putting on the charge right now, Joe Umpenhauer into that group, Kyle Jones, a young 23 and under athlete, sitting back in about 9th spot. It's Edwards right now enjoying the Canadian support as they will all give their energy to this young Canadian, but he really will be pushed hard. And look at Frederic Belabé now, the man who got a flat tire late in that 40-kilometer bike ride, however, coming now, running through the crowd, and he is moving incredibly well. Belabé, the two-time national champion, as he runs through the field, it continues to be Colin Edwards, but you can see the difference in the turnover. Second place right now, Hunter Kemper, as he will be chasing down the Canadian. And we look back to Jared Schumacher, who's in a great position in third. Hamish Carter sitting in fourth, the Italian in fifth, Tischler in 7th place. The Canadian Kyle Jones sitting in 8th place right now. A brilliant run out here as Frederic Belabé continues to run through those athletes, and we can see up by the motorcycle camera, that is Edwards. Hunter Kemper in 2nd. Carter sitting right now in 4th. Schumacher in 5th place right now, as a great battle through the late stages of this men's race. And I think all will be over for Colin Edwards as Hunter Kemper, the two-time Olympian, now just 8 seconds back, and the charge of some incredible men who are down by almost 50 seconds at the end of the 40-kilometer ride. The lead now just about to be taken over by Hunter Kemper, the man who finished 2005 in the #1 position, the two-time Olympian in the lead, but in 14th place and really charging through the field is Frederic Belabé, who is showing some great confidence in his run. End of lap #1 of 3, and as he comes through the transition zone, about a 14-second gap from Hunter Kemper back to the likes of Hamish Carter, Jared Schumacher into that group as well, and you can start to see the athletes falling off the pace as the big Americans starting to really now push the pace here onto the hilly section of this 10-kilometer run. And what an incredible career for Hunter Kemper, as he has had 12 podiums, 3 wins in his career. But if you want to talk about podiums, that man back there, Hamish Carter, 24 podiums, 8 wins in the incredible Kiwi's career. Hunter Kemper talking about being a little more aggressive. We're looking back now to Martin Carnovac from the Czech Republic, his athletes 5 through 8 who are running very well now as the heat starts to come out, and it's 1-2, Hunter Kemper, Hamish Carter.
Come on, Hamish!
back to Philip Ospoli sitting in third, Martin Karnovac in fourth, so the Czechs are in great position. Tischler sitting in seventh spot, and Jared Schumacher sitting up there in sixth, as well as the top men in the world made their way here to Edmonton. Frederick Belabé now running himself into 12th as he's run through Colin Edwards, the man who led off the bike. And now Hamish Carter has put his stamp on this race. Hamish Carter, first at the Athens Olympic Games. What an incredible performance for that man to win the gold. His teammate Bevan Docherty silver. 24 times the great Kiwi has been on the podium, 8 times as top. He's been Olympic Games, world champion, silver and bronze medalist. And today he would love to hold a 9th World Cup victory in his hands, but he is going to be pressed now as some incredible running happening out on the course. Kyle Jones being passed right there by an incredibly fast running Frederick Belabé, and he is going after a 1-2 punch of the American on the left-hand side, Hunter Kemper, the Kiwi on the right side, the two men who've been to 2 Olympic Games, and now into 8th place, Frederick Belabé. What an incredible performance after a flat tire over the last 5 kilometers. This man might be able to run himself into the top 5 here today. Hamish Carter, Hunter Kemper opening up a gap now, and in 3rd place, Jared Schumacher running incredibly well. The 2 Czech athletes sitting back in 4th and 6th, Umpenhauer in 7th, the Canadian Paul Tischler having the run of his life in 8th. And Hunter Kemper continuing to sit on the backside of Hamish Carter, and if you look at the career of this man, he's been 2nd at the World Championships, 3rd, 4th twice, 5th twice, 6th once. What an incredible career at World Championships, and a man who had his breakthrough last year. Right there, Schumacher was the World 23 and under championships, but he has never been on the podium before. And if he's able to get up there in the likes of Hamish Carter and Hunter Kemper today, Schumacher, that would be a monster breakthrough for that young athlete from the U.S. Coming through on the bell lap, 1 to go. It is talent versus talent. Hunter Kemper trying to track down Hamish Carter. Schumacher now about 8 seconds back, sitting in 3rd place. So the Americans, as they have done in the past, doing very well here on this course as we are now into the final stages. Just over 2.5 kilometers left here on this 10-kilometer run. Schumacher, who is on a running scholarship down in the U.S., starting to come into form after a very average start of the 2006 season. Carter took a good chunk of time off after the Commonwealth Games, and he's showing that he's back in great form right now, leading this Edmonton BG World Cup Triathlon. It's 2nd place for the American Hunter Kemper, 3rd place for Schumacher, and they're now down to the final 1.25 miles. 4th place sitting back on the Czech side, and we can see right now Hamish Carter showing why he has had so many podiums when he gets up there. A great battle now on the men's side for 2nd and 3rd as Schumacher starting to force the pace here on Hunter Kemper, and the young 23 and under world champion taking the lead over the very talented 2-time Olympian Hunter Kemper. Be by the grandstands one more time, as this may be the final time to see the great Hamish Carter race in Canada. He has entertained the world so many times, and if he does retire after this season, all of Canada will certainly be proud in showing their energy to the very talented Kiwi, and now a battle for 2nd between the 2 Americans. It is Hamish Carter, who does not have a world championship title, but virtually everything else you can imagine. Multiple national Kiwi titles, an Olympic Games gold medal, and there is Frederick Belabé in 6th place and running himself through the field again. What an incredible performance out there on this side by the young Frenchman. You could just imagine if he had not had that flat tire and would have come off the likes of Hamish Carter, he'd likely be battling it right now for 1st. Well, it's Hamish Carter now in the last stages of this race, and the battle really might be between the 2 Americans. The next generation, Jared Schumacher, the man who has done it for so many years, and Hunter Kemper, and they are all tracking down one of the oldest athletes, most experienced for sure in the crowd, and that is Hamish Carter. And now the acceleration. Schumacher trying to break away from Hunter Kemper. Kemper looking right now like he might just be suffering a bit, as Jared Schumacher sensing that he might have a chance for his 1st ever podium starting to move away. It is the battle for 2nd and 3rd, but all eyes will be on the finishing line as Hamish Carter, the 33-year-old Kiwi from Auckland, New Zealand, He has Olympic Games gold medal to his credit, and today his 9th World Cup victory, his 25th podium. Just seconds behind, Jared Schumacher will claim his first ever podium in silver. And Mr. Consistency crossing line there in Hunter Kemper, and what a run by Frederick Bellabé as he crosses in 4th place.
It was exciting. It was good. I had Hunter took off, and I was thinking I felt good, but I didn't really want to push that pace that early. And if he had carried on, he would have won. So he either measured his effort and backed off, or he didn't have the legs today. I'm not sure, but I was pleased to get past him and then get a bit of free air.
I moved my way up solidly the whole time and just slowly worked on picking people off. And I mean, I'm a big fan of Hunter, and he's always finished right in front of me. So I knew I could just get on him, and then I just tried to put in one last little surge because I wanted that podium. I didn't want anybody getting up close to me. I didn't want any sprint finish for 3rd place. So I figured I might as well make it a hard finish for 2nd or 1st.
My perspective was survival, just kind of get to the finish. It was a struggle for me today, and it was hard. I don't know what it was. It was just a flat day for me, and but the other 2 guys had good runs. Hamish ran really well, and Jared had a career day. So I mean, it's good for those guys, but it's a struggle when it was right there for me, and I was in the hunt and could have snatched it up, and wasn't able to do it. So it's it's good to be on the podium, I guess.
Well, it may have been an off day for Hunter Kemper, but he still found himself on the podium for the 3rd time this season, just behind teammate Jared Schumacher, who had a breakthrough race for his career. But it was the Olympic champ who had the best showing in Edmonton with his first victory of the season. And looking at the final results, you can see what a tight race it was at the top. The other story of the men's race was Frenchman Frederick Bellabé, who ran himself into 4th despite flatting on the final lap of the bike. Kemper's 3rd place finish in Edmonton was enough to keep him in the top spot in the men's world rankings, and despite not finishing this event, Kevin Doherty still holds on to 12th overall. Well, that wraps things up for another week of ITU World Cup racing. Next week, we're in Corner Brook, Newfoundland on Canada's East Coast. Be sure to tune in then.